If you have ever opened a Chinese grandmother's pantry and wondered why it looks like a small, carefully organized grocery store, you are about to find out exactly why. Chinese households across every province have quietly stockpiled the same core ingredients for centuries, not out of habit or superstition, but because these 20 foods last almost indefinitely when stored correctly and form the backbone of nearly every dish they cook. Today, we are counting down 20 foods the Chinese stockpile that never expire. Stay until the end, because number 1 is the single ingredient Chinese households have relied on for over 3,000 years and still reach for every single day without exception. Number 20. White rice. Most people treat rice as a weekly grocery item that gets used up and replaced in a regular rotation, never once considering it could sit in a pantry for years and cook up exactly the same way it always has. Transfer white rice into a sealed glass or food-grade plastic container with a genuinely airtight lid. Store in a cool, dark place completely away from moisture and sunlight. Stored this way, it keeps indefinitely without any special treatment. Rice is naturally hygroscopic, meaning it absorbs surrounding moisture rather than producing any of its own, leaving nothing inside a properly sealed container to trigger spoilage, mold, or bacterial growth over time. Households across Hunan province have stored sealed clay pots of white rice through entire winters and well beyond for generations, treating it as the non-negotiable foundation of emergency food reserves long before modern pantry culture existed anywhere in the world. What you pull from a well-sealed container 2 years from now cooks up fluffy, clean, and completely indistinguishable from a bag opened just yesterday. Number 19. Salt. Pour coarse sea salt or fine table salt into any clean, dry container with a fitting lid. Store it anywhere in your kitchen that stays consistently dry. It requires no refrigeration, no special packaging, and absolutely no expiration date, regardless of what any label tells you. The ionic structure of sodium chloride is inherently stable at a molecular level, meaning it does not break down, oxidize, react with air, or support microbial life under any normal storage conditions at any temperature or humidity. Salt merchants across Sichuan province have traded and stored salt in sealed ceramic jars for over 2,000 years, treating it as literal currency precisely because it never deteriorates regardless of how many seasons pass while it sits. Most people still throw out perfectly good salt based on a printed date that holds absolutely no scientific meaning for this ingredient. A jar of properly stored salt tastes sharp, clean, and exactly as powerful as the day it was first sealed, with nothing lost. Number 18. Soy sauce. The complex fermentation process that creates soy sauce produces a liquid so high in sodium and so low in available water content that spoilage organisms have almost no viable environment in which to survive, even over extended periods of storage. Soy sauce breweries across Fujian and Guangdong province, some operating continuously for over a century without interruption, age their product in large clay urns for months before sealing, knowing the finished liquid will hold its quality for years inside a properly sealed bottle. Most people refrigerate soy sauce out of habit and assumption, never realizing an unopened bottle stored in a cool, dark cupboard is just as safe, just as stable, and just as flavorful. Keep unopened soy sauce sealed in a dark cupboard. Once opened, use within 2 years and keep it away from both heat and light at all times. The flavor inside a properly stored bottle stays deep, savory, and richly complex with no degradation at all. Number 17. Rice vinegar. Home cooks across Shanxi province, where China's most celebrated vinegars have been produced, aged, and stored for over 3,000 continuous years, have always kept sealed bottles of rice vinegar on open shelves without refrigeration and without a second thought. Most people assume vinegar, like most liquids in their kitchen, eventually turns or weakens over time with age. It does the exact opposite of that. The acidity within rice vinegar continues a very slow acidification process even inside a sealed bottle, gradually deepening the flavor over years of storage rather than fading or losing potency the way most people expect. Keep your rice vinegar in a sealed glass bottle placed away from direct sunlight. It genuinely needs nothing else to stay stable indefinitely. An old bottle that has sat sealed for 3 full years tastes noticeably sharper, more rounded, and slightly more layered in complexity than a bottle opened just last week. Number 16. Shaoxing rice wine. Most people treat Shaoxing wine as a specialty ingredient, They buy specifically for one recipe, use once, and then let sit forgotten at the back of a cupboard until they eventually throw it out without ever using it again. The fermentation process that produces Shaoxing wine creates a highly stable alcohol and acid environment inside every bottle that actively resists any form of bacterial growth, oxidation, or flavor breakdown over time. Households across Shaoxing, the historic city in Zhejiang province that gives this wine its name, have kept sealed bottles in cool storage rooms for generations, sometimes aging them for decades before ever opening them for cooking or serving. Keep a sealed bottle in a dark cupboard away from heat. Once opened, reseal it tightly and store it the exact same way. It remains fully usable for at least 3 years after opening with no deterioration. A properly stored bottle comes out warmly aromatic, faintly sweet, and every bit as effective in a marinade or braise as the day it was originally made. Number 15. Dried shiitake mushrooms. Spread fresh shiitake mushrooms across a clean rack placed in direct sunlight for 2 full days, turning each mushroom once after 24 hours to ensure even drying on every side. Once completely rigid and dry throughout, seal them in an airtight container or zip bag with all air firmly pressed out before closing. Traditional food preservation households across Fujian province have sun-dried shiitake mushrooms this exact way for generations, storing large batches in sealed ceramic jars that sometimes last several years without any measurable loss of quality or flavor. The drying process halts enzymatic activity within the mushroom tissue completely and permanently, removing the moisture that triggers both bacterial growth and the gradual breakdown of the flavor compounds that make shiitake worth using. Most people buy expensive small packets of dried shiitake without ever considering how straightforward the process of building their own long-term supply actually is, with nothing more than sunlight and a clean rack. A properly dried and sealed shiitake, stored for 2 years, rehydrates into something deeply earthy, intensely savory, and noticeably more concentrated than a fresh mushroom ever delivers on its own. Stay with me because number 7 is coming up. And it is the one Chinese pantry staple most people assume goes rancid quickly, but actually holds for years longer than anyone expects. Number 14. Dried red dates. Traditional Chinese medicine practitioners across Guangdong province, one of the largest red date producing regions in the entire country, have stored dried jujubes in sealed clay containers for generations, prescribing them as a year-round tonic ingredient regardless of the time of year or season. Most people assume dried fruit carries a shelf life of only a few months at best and discard red dates the moment a packet has been sitting open on the shelf for any extended period. The natural sugar concentration within a fully dried red date creates an internal environment with almost no available water activity, which is the single most important measurement that determines whether any food can support bacterial or fungal growth over time. Lay fresh red dates in a single layer and dry them in an oven at 160 degrees Fahrenheit for 4 hours, turning once at the halfway mark. Cool them completely before sealing them inside an airtight jar. Properly dried and sealed red dates stored for up to 3 years remain chewy, intensely sweet, and every bit as effective in a broth or daily tonic as freshly dried ones from the same week. Number 13. Dried goji berries. The high concentration of natural polysaccharide compounds within goji berries acts as a built-in preservation mechanism, locking available moisture within a stable molecular structure that resists degradation far longer than almost any other commonly consumed dried fruit on the market. Households across Ningxia province, the region responsible for the vast majority of China's goji berry production, have stored sealed bags of dried goji in cool, dark cupboards year-round for generations without any loss of potency or texture. Most people keep an open bag of goji berries loosely folded shut in a drawer somewhere, wondering why they turn hard, pale, and completely flavorless within just a few short weeks of opening. Transfer dried goji berries into a sealed glass jar immediately after opening the original packet for the first time. Store away from heat and direct light at all times. They remain fully usable for up to 2 years this way. A properly stored goji berry holds its chewy texture, its bright color, and its gently sweet flavor for years longer than any loosely sealed packet left sitting in a drawer ever achieves. Number 12. Dried star anise. Most people keep star anise in its original thin paper packet, folded shut and stored near the stove where rising heat and steam quietly destroy its potency and aroma, long before the packet is anywhere near empty. Transfer whole dried star anise into a sealed glass jar immediately and store it in a cool, dark cupboard placed completely away from the heat of any cooking surface in your kitchen. The essential oils responsible for star anise's signature aroma are primarily terpene compounds that evaporate steadily and irreversibly whenever they are exposed to heat, light, or prolonged open-air contact over time. Spice vendors across Guangxi Province, China's largest star anise growing and trading region, have stored their product in sealed ceramic containers away from market heat for generations, knowing that proper storage is what separates a genuinely potent spice from a flavorless powder that does nothing. Whole star anise stored correctly for 3 years smells sharp, intensely anise-like, and just as powerfully fragrant as the day it was first sealed into the jar. Number 11. Sichuan peppercorns. Most people store Sichuan peppercorns in the same small jar they originally came in from the store, leaving the lid loosely placed between uses, and then genuinely wondering why the famous numbing effect seems to fade faster with every passing month. The active numbing compound in Sichuan peppercorns, a naturally occurring alkaloid called hydroxy-alpha-sanshul, degrades significantly and measurably faster when it is exposed to oxygen, heat, or ambient moisture over any extended period. Place whole dried Sichuan peppercorns into a sealed glass jar immediately after purchasing them. Store the jar in a dark, cool location placed completely away from the stove and any other heat source in the kitchen. Cooks across Chengdu treat properly stored Sichuan peppercorns as a genuine long-term pantry staple rather than a perishable item, keeping sealed jars for 2 to 3 years without any noticeable loss of numbing power or fragrance. Whole peppercorns stored correctly for 2 years grind into something still intensely fragrant, deeply citrusy, and genuinely numbing in a way that poorly stored peppercorns barely manage even after just 3 months sitting open. Number 10. Dried chili peppers. Households across Hunan Province, where dried chilies appear prominently in nearly every dish placed on the table at any meal, have hung whole peppers in bundles from kitchen rafters for generations, treating air-dried open storage as the natural default rather than sealed refrigeration. Most people store dried chilies in their original thin plastic packaging without pressing the air out first, never realizing that trapped residual humidity slowly degrades potency and color from the inside out over months. The active heat compound in dried chili peppers is capsaicin, a remarkably stable molecule that remains chemically unchanged for years in the complete absence of moisture, excess oxygen, and prolonged direct heat exposure during storage. Thread whole dried chilies onto a clean string and hang them in a dry, well-ventilated area for 2 full weeks until they are completely rigid throughout every section. Then transfer them to a sealed glass jar and keep away from light. A properly dried and sealed chili stored for 3 years crumbles between your fingers into something still fiery, deeply aromatic, and intensely colored rather than pale and completely without heat. Hit that subscribe button right now because number 3 is coming up, and it is the one food on this list that genuinely never expires, ever, under any circumstances whatsoever. Number 9. 5 spice powder. Most people keep 5 spice powder in its original cardboard box placed near the stove, shaking it directly over a steaming hot wok without ever realizing that the heat rising up into the container degrades the entire blend faster than almost anything else could. The combined volatile aromatic compounds inside 5 spice undergo rapid breakdown of their flavor molecules whenever exposed to steam, repeated temperature fluctuations, or prolonged contact with open air during daily cooking sessions. Spice blenders across Guangdong Province, preparing 5 spice specifically for large-scale wholesale distribution, have always sealed their finished product in airtight metal tins rather than paper or cardboard. Knowing the packaging itself matters every bit as much as the quality of the blend inside. Spoon your 5 spice powder immediately into a small sealed glass jar the moment you open the original packet for the first time. Never shake it directly over a steaming dish. Always use a completely dry spoon for every single use. 5 spice stored correctly for 2 full years smells warm, balanced, and richly complex rather than flat, faint, and barely fragrant the way poorly stored blends become. Number 8. Rock sugar. Most people use rock sugar once for a specific braise or tonic, Then leave the remaining pieces loosely covered inside an open bag, where they slowly absorb surrounding moisture and fuse together into one solid, completely unusable mass. Rock sugar is an unrefined form of sucrose that resists spoilage, almost entirely because of its crystallization structure, the same fundamental process that makes concentrated sugar inherently hostile to every form of microbial life regardless of how long it sits untouched. Place rock sugar into a sealed glass jar with a genuinely tight-fitting lid the very moment you open the original packaging for the first time. Store in a cool, dry location placed completely away from any source of moisture. Households across Guangdong, preparing red braised pork belly and traditional herbal tonics, have kept sealed jars of rock sugar in their kitchen cupboards for years at a time, reaching confidently for the same jar across dozens of different cooking sessions without any degradation in quality or sweetness. A properly stored piece of rock sugar cracks cleanly, dissolves smoothly into any liquid, and adds the same rich, mellow sweetness to every dish as a freshly purchased block bought that same morning. Number 7. Sesame oil. Most people store their sesame oil directly on the counter beside the stove where they cook, never noticing the cumulative effect of daily heat and constant light exposure slowly turning the oil from something genuinely fragrant into something faintly stale over just a few months of use. Transfer your sesame oil into a dark glass bottle if it did not already come sealed in one. Close it tightly after every single use and store it in a cool, dark cupboard placed completely away from direct light and any heat source. Toasted sesame oil contains naturally occurring lignans, a class of plant-derived compounds with strong oxidation-resistant properties that give the oil a significantly longer stable shelf life than most other common cooking oils when it is stored correctly and consistently. Home cooks across Shandong province, where sesame cultivation carries a centuries-long unbroken history, have always kept their sesame oil in dark ceramic vessels stored away from light and heat, treating proper storage as a fundamental part of respecting the ingredient's value. A properly stored bottle opened after 18 months smells nutty, warmly toasted, and every bit as deeply fragrant as the day it was first sealed at the source. Number 6. Fermented black beans. Fermented black beans carry almost no available water activity remaining after the fermentation and drying process is fully complete, creating a preserved product that the lacto-fermentation process has already rendered deeply and permanently hostile to any further spoilage organisms attempting to grow. Most people buy a small jar of fermented black beans, use 1 tablespoon for a single dish, then seal the jar loosely and place it in the refrigerator, never realizing that refrigeration is genuinely unnecessary for this particular ingredient. Transfer fermented black beans into a clean sealed glass jar the moment you open the original packaging. Store it in a cool, dark cupboard rather than the refrigerator. They remain fully usable at room temperature for up to 3 years without any loss of flavor or saltiness. Cooks across Guangdong province have stored sealed clay pots of fermented black beans in their pantry corners for generations, confidently reaching for the same batch across many months of daily cooking without ever questioning whether the contents had deteriorated or turned. A properly stored fermented black bean pressed firmly between your fingers is still deeply savory, intensely salty, and pungently complex in a way no fresh alternative ever comes close to replicating in a finished dish. Number 5. Dried tangerine peel. The naturally occurring volatile oil compounds within tangerine peel concentrate and deepen noticeably as the peel dries and ages over time, producing both a flavor and a medicinal potency that genuinely improves with age, rather than fading the way most people expect from any dried ingredient. Traditional Chinese medicine practitioners across Guangdong province treat properly aged tangerine peel as a genuinely premium ingredient rather than a simple background spice, valuing pieces aged 10 years or longer above freshly dried ones in both everyday cooking applications and formal herbal prescriptions. Most people discard tangerine peels immediately after eating the fruit, never pausing to consider that they are throwing away an ingredient with potentially decades of useful shelf life and increasing value still ahead of it. Peel the skin from 2 organic tangerines in large, clean sections free of white pith. Leave them flat on a clean drying rack in a warm, consistently dry place for 5 full days until every piece is completely rigid throughout. Seal tightly in a labeled glass jar. A piece of properly dried tangerine peel stored correctly for 5 years crumbles into something deeply citrusy, warmly bitter, and more fragrant than freshly dried peel at any stage could achieve on its own. Drop a comment right now and tell us which food on this list surprised you the most. We are almost at the final 3, and number 1 is genuinely extraordinary in a way that nothing else on this list can match. Now, these last 3 are the most powerful pantry foods on this entire list. If you remember nothing else from today, remember these 3 and the way you store them. Number 4, white pepper. Most people store ground white pepper in a cardboard shaker placed near the stove, shaking it directly over steaming hot dishes and leaving the lid sitting loosely between every single use without a second thought about what that is doing to the potency inside. Buy whole white peppercorns rather than pre-ground powder every single time. Transfer them immediately into a properly sealed glass jar and store it in a cool, dark cupboard placed entirely away from any heat source in the kitchen. Whole white peppercorns keep their volatile aromatic oils locked completely intact inside the outer hull of each individual corn, releasing them only at the precise moment of grinding rather than allowing them to evaporate steadily into the surrounding air the way pre-ground pepper does from the very first day any packet is opened. Chefs across Sichuan province preparing hot and sour soup and slow-braised dishes have always purchased whole white peppercorns and ground only the exact quantity needed for each dish, keeping the rest sealed inside a jar indefinitely without any quality loss. A whole white peppercorn ground fresh from a jar sealed properly for 3 years delivers a heat that is sharp, genuinely warming, and noticeably more aromatic than anything produced from a pre-ground container opened months ago. Number 3. Cornstarch. Transfer cornstarch into a completely sealed glass jar the very moment you open the original cardboard box for the first time. Press a small square of dry parchment paper directly against the surface of the powder before closing and sealing the lid tightly above it. Households across Fujian province using cornstarch daily as a velveting agent, sauce thickener, and marinade base have always stored it in sealed ceramic containers rather than the paper boxes it is sold in at any shop, treating the packaging as immediately inadequate. Most people leave cornstarch inside its original cardboard box with just the top folded over between uses, leaving the entire supply vulnerable to the ambient kitchen humidity that slowly clumps and degrades it within just a few weeks of opening. Pure cornstarch contains no fat, no protein, and absolutely no moisture of its own, meaning it undergoes no gelatinization, no oxidation, and no microbial breakdown of any kind whatsoever when kept sealed and kept genuinely dry throughout its entire storage period. Cornstarch stored correctly for 5 years dissolves into a sauce just as smoothly, thickens just as cleanly, and coats velveted meat just as evenly as a box opened for the very first time yesterday. Number 2. Dried wood ear mushrooms. Most people walk past dried wood ear mushrooms at the grocery store without a second glance, treating them as an unusual specialty item nobody really needs, rather than a genuinely practical, long-lasting pantry staple worth keeping in permanent supply. Lay fresh wood ear mushrooms in a single, uncrowded layer on a clean drying rack, placed in direct sunlight for 3 full days, checking each day for any remaining soft spots that need more time until everything is completely rigid throughout. The drying process drives complete desiccation of the mushroom tissue all the way through, removing every last trace of available water and leaving behind a lightweight, fully shelf-stable ingredient that stores without any refrigeration for up to 4 years when sealed properly. Home cooks across Sichuan province have kept sealed jars of dried wood ear mushrooms sitting on open pantry shelves for generations, rehydrating a small handful at a time whenever needed for hot and sour soups, cold salads, and quick stir-fry dishes throughout the year. Sealed and stored correctly for 2 full years, dried wood ear mushrooms still rehydrate into something silky, pleasantly crunchy, and almost completely neutral in their own flavor, absorbing whatever surrounds them completely and perfectly. Number 1. Honey. Honey found sealed inside Egyptian tombs over 3,000 years ago remained perfectly edible and completely unchanged when archaeologists first opened them in modern times. No other food in the entire recorded history of human civilization comes close to matching this documented record, and Chinese households have understood this reality far longer than most Western kitchens ever acknowledged or accepted it. Most people still discard honey based entirely on a printed best before date that has absolutely no scientific basis for this particular ingredient. That date exists purely for legal packaging compliance, not because honey actually deteriorates in any meaningful way under correct storage conditions. Store honey in a sealed glass jar at stable room temperature placed away from direct sunlight at all times. If it crystallizes over time, Simply place the jar in warm water held at 140 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes, and it returns to smooth liquid completely and effortlessly. Crystallization is a natural structural change driven by sugar chemistry, not a sign of spoilage or quality loss of any kind. Traditional Chinese medicine practitioners across Hunan province have prescribed raw honey as a wound treatment, a daily digestive tonic, and a food preservation medium for over 2,000 unbroken years, valuing it as much for its extraordinary permanence as for its flavor and its wide range of healing applications. The melanoidin compounds produced naturally during honey's slow aging process actively destroy bacteria on direct contact, giving it a uniquely self-preserving quality that no other pantry ingredient on this entire list naturally possesses to any comparable degree. A jar of raw honey sealed correctly and left for 20 years tastes floral, warmly sweet, and genuinely complex, in a way that no other ingredient on this list can claim to match across any comparable length of time stored in any kitchen anywhere. This is not hoarding. This is the oldest, most intelligent, most practical approach to building a functional kitchen that any culture in the entire world has ever developed and maintained across generations. And it starts with the 20 foods you have just learned about today. And that is exactly why we make these videos for you. If today's breakdown genuinely helped you, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another guide like this one. We have got more deep dives coming your way, from the hidden secrets of Chinese fermented pantry staples to 31 clever food preservation tricks that will completely change how you think about your kitchen and your grocery spending at home. All designed to help you eat smarter, waste significantly less, and spend noticeably less every single week. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay sharp, stay stocked, and keep cooking. Drop a comment below with the one food from this list you're adding to your pantry first. Let us see which one wins.